What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ricketts. You're tuning in to our new episode called The Mixed Bag. Tonight we got Brian Schiller, co-host, owner of Paddle and Fin, co-host, the OG show, Bass Slayer.
I don't know about that, but all right, I'll take it.
Handsome man, coffee officiant.
Oh,
right? Yeah, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, we're bringing you a new episode, doing 7 days a week. We wanted to give you guys an outlet where we can talk about anything and everything, not necessarily kayak fishing or fishing in general. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that kind of hit me the wrong way. I saw it on a platform. I'm not going to say which platform. And we're gonna talk about that tonight. We're gonna get in a little more in depth into pro staffing and where you draw the line. When and where is it worth selling your soul to the devil or not, man? Just for some sponsorship money. So take it away. We're gonna go ahead and dive into it. So a little bit about me. I've been in the game for about 6 years. Now, how I got into it, I was a customer. Loveland Canoe and Kayak is where I bought my first boat from. So, actually, my second one. First one I bought was at Bass Pro Shop. I knew nothing about kayaking. I didn't even know I wanted to be a kayak angler. I just knew that, hey, my buddies were posting some videos on Facebook, and I thought it was going to be a blast. So I wanted to get into kayaking, not necessarily kayak angling. So I went to Bass Pro, went home, went to Bass Pro again, went home, research, watch YouTube videos. You know the rabbit hole everybody goes down. You know that rabbit hole. I bought the boat at Bass Pro. And then, nationally, I've always been kind of an angler, but I've done it from the shore. So then once you research kayaking, you research kayak fishing. Naturally, the YouTube videos pop up. Some of the first people you're going to see, Chris Funk, a lot of people like that. So outfitted the kayak, rigged it up, hated the boat. First season, I was done with it. Going into my second season in the wintertime, as we all do now, there's nothing else to do. It's colder than hell outside, you're bored. So I started researching more stable boats because that Bass Pro boat that I bought just wasn't stable for me. Maybe for some people, but for me personally, it was not my cup of tea. So I researched the Jackson Kayak Big Rig, and this is not a Jackson Kayak pitch. I mean, yeah, I'm Team Jackson, but I'm Team get your ass in whatever boat that you want to be in that's going to get you on the water and let you have fun. So I researched the Big Rig. That was the boat for me. I fell in love with it. I learned how to kayak properly on that boat. I outgrew it to a sense to where I figured out I didn't need something that big, and I didn't need something that was so extra stable. And I'm emphasis on extra stable. So I went back to Loveland Canoe and Kayak where I had bought that from about 6 months after I bought it. And I bought a sit inside. It was called a Tripper 12 back then. I outfitted that and I rigged it up for fishing, and it was a beautiful boat. And it was my river boat, and I love that boat. So while purchasing those kayaks, I just gave them shout outs. Hey man, Mark at Loveland really took care of me, gave me this discount, because when I got my big rig, I got a big rig and a paddle and an Orion 25 cooler and everything matched, and it was perfect. And he gave me a hell of a discount on it. So randomly just giving him shout outs, right, Brian? So I'm like, hey man, here we go. Loveland. Mark calls me. I'm getting gas. It's in the wintertime. I'm getting some fuel with my wife. He calls me. He goes, hey man, do you know anybody and may want to rep the shop in this area? And it was a feeler call, right?
Yeah.
And I picked it right up of it. I was like, me? I'll do it, man. And he goes, I was hoping you would say that. So he was looking for an ambassador, right? And what he found attractive was that I spent, honest to God, I spent about $3,900 at a shop, and I never asked for anything. I didn't even know a shop ambassador. What the hell was that? He had to explain that to me because I was so green. I didn't know what that was.
Sure.
So he explained the programs, and it was off and running. We're 6 years into it. Well, I'm 5 years into it. It's opened a lot of doors, man. And it's when you mention pro staff and you mention ambassador, brand ambassador, there's a few different people out there that view it a few different ways, right? You have the people who are just getting into it and they see a representative of a company or a shop and they're like, man, that's awesome. That guy, he made it. He's big time. He's the guy that knows everything, right? Because they don't really understand, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the guys that are in it, like us, and we love it, right? And then you have the pro staff haters.
Yeah, I mean, so going back to the shop thing, I got a slightly different story, but it's kind of similar. Um, you know, uh, when I really got serious into the kayak game, and as a guy getting into tournaments, you're like, oh, I need some sponsors, right? And when you hear that term sponsors, and there's a difference between pro staff and sponsorships, right? Sponsorships,
absolutely.
you're getting a check. Pro staffs, you're getting a discount. And on the sponsorship thing, you'll be getting free product and things like that. So I do have some sponsorships and I do have some pro staff positions. But getting into the shop thing, when I first started looking at, pro staff positions and stuff and trying to figure out how to get sponsorship money, I did a YouTube search and it was Chad Hoover talking about sponsorships. And he said, one of the first steps you should do is get associated with a shop. Go down there, hang out on the weekends, get to know somebody there, offer to help with a demo day, things like that. So it was funny when I went down to Rocktown the first time. My buddy, the Godfather, had told me about their shop in Aurora. Well, I went to Rockford because that was closer to my place, and I went down for a demo day for the Bonafide, and I helped Travis load and unload the trailer. He's like, dude, you're a customer, you don't have to do this. And I'm like, no, dude, this is me, man, this is what I do. And that was like the first interaction that I had with them. Then I found that Hoover video when I started getting more serious. Well, I started going down on Sundays and I'd hang out for 3-4 hours, and there'd be a bunch of customers in there, and I'd just start talking to the guys looking at fishing kayaks. And I just kept doing that and doing that and doing that.
Right.
And I was like, so when are you guys going to give me a job? And it turned into like the fishing shows last year, about this time last year. We had kind of come up with an agreement between Paddle and Fin and Rocktown. And, basically they were going to let us come to the show. Well, at least me. Jay was there on Jackson's behalf. But, I got to work the booth in all their shows, which is great exposure, right, to sales reps, other companies, things like that. And you start to make relationships. Actually, we were talking about it today. We're recording this on Sunday, and that's when we recorded with Jeremiah. I met Jeremiah at the Madison Fishing Show last year, it's kind of crazy how that whole cycle,
full circle.
Yeah.
Right.
So, they were giving me, I hope they don't care that I say this, but they were giving me like shop credit, right, for working the shows and stuff. That was the thing. They realized, like, I wasn't just like hanging out because I had no place to go. They realized I was hanging out because it was good for their brand. That's the one thing too, with kayak shops, a lot of times they can get anybody under the sun to work there that knows anything and everything about wreck kayaks, but fishermen do not want to work in kayak shops. I know, like, Mark brought you on because you knew that whole niche of the market, and that's why they brought me on. Like Kevin, Travis, Rick, Mike, the guys that work at the shop, dude, they could tell you about touring kayaks and wreck kayaks all day long. You get them in front of a fishing kayak and you're like, how do you guys rig these up? And they'd have no clue how to answer that.
Right. Same. Marketing recreational kayaks. The Loveland Canoe and Kayak is a canoe and kayak livery that sells kayaks, right? Their main revenue is rental boats, pleasure boats. So he knew a little bit about the rec line. He didn't, or about the fishing line. He didn't know how to pump it out there. Now, kayaking and kayak fishing, I have going on a 6-year resume for that. But professionally, I've been in 20 plus years. Professionally, I've worked in consumer finance or consumer
Sure.
related products, customer service, right? So
Yeah.
I've been in a decade of sales doing consumer lending for a bank. I know how to talk to people and I know how to pitch something, right? Because
Right.
I have to make a living. So anyway, once I put that spin on it, kayak sales shot through the roof,
Yeah.
and that's one thing he found attractive. And one thing that people have to keep in mind is that most of your kayak shops are small businesses. Small
Yep.
businesses,
Yeah.
they need every penny. And
Yeah.
if you get somebody in there and that person takes full advantage of them, it hurts them, and it
Sure.
hurts them
Sure.
bad. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm sure it was the same. I think you've told me stories where Rocktown
Yeah.
got hit, got taken advantage of. Mark, same
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
got hit, got taken advantage of. So even this year,
Well,
it
yeah.
happened.
Well, that was the thing. Like, when because the whole paddle and fin Rocktown Adventures relationships started first before part of it was my personal relationship that I was gaining with the shop. But it that was the one thing, Kevin, my general manager, he had tried to do like ambassadorship type deals with clubs and other paddlers, anglers, things like that, and just got burned every time.
Yeah, let's explain
Those.
that. Let's explain what an ambassadorship is, because a lot of people may not know that term, right? New people. So an ambassadorship is where you represent the shop and their brand, and in return, you may get something. Now,
Yeah.
for me personally, I got to use a boat free
Sure.
of charge.
Yeah.
I got to use a boat, and I either sold that boat at the end of the season or I turned it in for a newer model. That was my gig, and I represented the shop. I represented their brand. Now, since then, I have grown that completely. My role changed. I went
Yeah.
from ambassador to like marketing manager, if you will, because that's what I do.
Sure. Sure.
I've added 2 new kayak brands for Loveland. We brought in Bonafide, and I love Bonafide, right? And they're just like, "Oh, you're a Jackson guy." Guys, I love all brands. I don't
Yeah.
care if I'm a Jackson
Yeah.
guy. I don't give a shit. I love Bonafide boats. I've been in a Bonafide boat. I paddled a Bonafide boat. They're awesome. And Luther, if you hear this, brother, no hard feelings, but putting together that deal with Bonafide was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
An absolute nightmare. I called them every day
Well,
for 2 weeks.
I don't want to
2
go down
weeks.
that rabbit hole, but with their whole
Yeah.
merger, it's kind of been a little bit of a cluster right now, and I understand they're going through some changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, dude. Like, so I always get that question, why do you even work at the shop, right? And
Yeah.
and I get it from you guys at Paddle and Fin. I get it from my wife. I get it from friends. I get it from listeners of the podcast. And plain and simple, dude, like, I'll be 100% honest. And a lot of people know this, and I've never been shy about this. The blue sky I fish off of is not my boat. That is Rocktown's boat. I have a warehouse full of probably 80 to 100 boats, from touring kayak all the way down to fishing kayaks to stand-up paddle boards that I can go pick up at any given time and float out of.
And in
Like, to me,
return,
that's cool. And
yeah.
that was one of the hitches, right? When we kind of came up with this agreement, they were like, well, we'll give you free realm to use any of our boats for paddle and fin, so we could do boat reviews. Now that I'm associated with Jackson, that's kind of like a thing, right? But at the same time, like, I can go pick up any Jackson that we have in a demo, and that ranges everywhere from a Kilroy LT to a Cruise
Absolutely.
to, a Kusa to a big rig to the blue sky. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. Like, that benefit alone is crazy. And not only that, but, they give me a trailer to put the boat on and tow all across the country. I'm
Yeah,
super
same.
grateful for that. But we also do like camping, hiking, stuff as well. We got apparel, things like that. Like, I'm been talking to one of the reps from Outdoor Research, and that thing happened because he was at our shop checking in because we're a retailer for them. And we started talking, and I was like, "Oh, do you sponsor fishermen?" And then we got on that whole subject. So, I'm trying to work with Outdoor Research because I own some of their stuff, and it's good stuff.
It is
So, I
good
mean,
stuff.
it's got its pros and cons, right? Like every Saturday that I'm not on the road, I got to sacrifice going down there and working. Do I get paid for it? Yeah, but I'm not there for the money. That's one thing I've told Travis. I'm like, do you really think I'm here for a paycheck, bro?
Right.
Like I make more than enough money at my other gig where like this does nothing for me. This pays my tournament fees or pays for a new black pack or a rod holder or a camera mount or something like that. Like I don't need to be here. And I'm
Yeah.
not trying to sound snobby that way, but I think we both do it for just the love of it. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
sport. Like, I don't know. There's something to be said about you get somebody in a new boat and you see them, you help them load it up in the back of the truck, put it on the trailer. You do that final handshake and you just see that grin on that person's face
It's
as they're
life
getting in the
changing.
car.
You just changed their
It's
life.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's cool.
absolutely. And it feels satisfying, man. You're just like, I just put another good dude in there.
Yeah.
Um, and I started out just repping Mark, and it was like a business relationship. And but now we're friends. You know, we
Yeah.
we we talk all the time. We rant and rave. We'll talk about the industry. We'll talk about things that's going on. We'll talk about personal stuff. He is a really close friend of mine, and I built that relationship over 6 years. And if his business takes a hit, it affects me. If it hurts him, it hurts me because I love the guy. I love him
Yeah.
to death. I mean,
Yeah.
so kind of fast forward, we're on teams now. I too rep strictly Jackson for the brand for Loveland, but prior to that, I brought a few guys on. Right.
Yeah.
So last year was trial and error. And what I did was I pitched it. I said, hey, let's bring a few guys on because we have a few other brands now. Let's bring them on. And they could rep those brands. We brought on two other dudes, two of our hosts on panel, Finn,
Yeah.
Josh and Brad. You
Yeah.
know, so good dudes. Brad represents the Bonafide. He's actually an affiliate team member of Bonafide Kayaks. And Josh, he's in a Jackson, but he's free to rep whatever boat he wants to rep. Because he
Yeah.
reps Loveland. They get some perks and stuff. So it the pro staffing stuff. It's a lot of work, and it's fun if it's for the right cause.
Reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, where it gets tricky at, and bring in the pro staff haters, right? Because there is an industry out there where people get pimped.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, I found out the hard way because I've gotten a little taken advantage of this year.
Sure.
Because once people find out you're affiliated with a company or a brand, they come knocking and they want to get in close, and then they want to pick you apart, and then you turn your back and they want to pick you apart again and again and again and again. And then you find the dark side, what I call the dark side of kayak fishing world. You know, you
Yeah.
have a lot of posts saying no drama from the very people that create drama. And that's all we'll say about that. You know what I mean? That's all we'll say about
Right.
that.
Right. Right.
So the thing that hit me tonight, this is what I saw it on. Again, I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I saw something. I saw it on a platform. And last year, this is what I'm guilty of. I'm flipping through pictures on my phone, and I have all these cool pictures of me on my blue sky, me on the water, me on the river, me on the lakes. Do you know what I didn't have? I didn't have a lot of pictures of my children on
Yep.
the water. And if you're a father and you look back and you realized I completely neglected my children because I was too consumed with being in the public eye and representing brands, and that hurt.
Yeah.
that really hurt me, dude. I was like, my son loves to hang out. My daughter loves to go kayak fishing. I only took them a few times last year. And that was driving that has been driving me nuts all night. I got their pictures over there, two beautiful kids. And and what drove that in was I saw something on Facebook, a picture on Facebook. And it was just like, okay, when did the kayak fishing world, when do you get so consumed in it? When does it take your life over that you neglect your children and or you use your children to promote yourself or try to get in bed with a company? Man, when did that happen? When did we start doing that as fathers, as athletes, as members of the kayak fishing community? God damn it, Brian. When did it take that turn?
I don't know, but I mean, being a father is one thing. Um, and showing your family and your love for your family is one thing, but when you turn into a billboard, would be the proper way to put it. It's like
Yeah.
there's something wrong with this picture, right? Well, I was thinking about this because we both saw the same thing. You mentioned you wanted to talk about something you saw and kind of hinted at what it was, and I was like, I know what you're talking about. I saw the same thing,
Yeah.
and it got me thinking because you go look at Casey Neistat, right?
Right.
He used to put his daughter in his vlogs, and then he stopped because, and he's told this story many times before on his vlog channel or whatever, and you know him and his wife got in the back of a New York City taxi cab, and the driver was asking them about their daughter,
That's
knew like
creepy.
so much stuff about their daughter. And I mean, yeah, granted, Casey had put that in the vlog, but he didn't realize. And then not only that, but I've heard him speak about, it should be a child's choice to be able to put their lives up on the internet, right? Like
Absolutely.
they're so young, like, do they really have the conscience to make that decision yet? I
Here's
guess
what
would be the
here's
way
what
to
you're
put it.
doing. You're lying. And I'll just say it, man, because you can go through my social media, you can go through my Instagram, you can go through my Facebook. There's not one perfectly focused, set up picture of any of my children to promote a brand. There's not a single one.
Yeah.
You're gonna see a lot of thumbs up. My son loves to do that, man. He'll give you a
Yeah.
thumbs up. You'll see where he's thrown baits, and I just turn around and take a dad picture, man. I'm not worried about getting that right angle and that perfect blur and ISO and freaking shutter.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's never set up, man. But when do we get to the point that we're pimping our children out? And not only that, but you're lying, right? This is the thing that kills me, man. You're lying to your child. You're lying to them because they think I'm just fishing with mom or dad. I'm just fishing with mom and dad. And mom and dad are like, man, if I get this perfect picture, if I line it up and I get that brand posted right there and it's beautiful, I might get a sponsorship.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. That's yeah, it's weird. I, you know me, dude. I always try to walk the line and not get into controversial stuff, but I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to skate on thin ice here, so I'm trying to preference on how I want to put it. But I mean I agree 100%. When I saw it as well, I was just kind of like, really? Like, really?
I was hurt.
Like,
I was like,
where?
oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing showing a kid having a good time, like fishing and stuff, but when you're like intentionally staging that photo, so brand names and things like that are in it, it's just like, whoa.
This is especially when it's somebody you respect and admire.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Respect the dude 100%. Um, yeah, absolutely. Respect him 100%. Um, dude works hard for what he's achieved and things like that. But at the same time, like you said, dude, when do you completely sell out? Like, where do you draw that line?
Mm-hmm.
It's the one thing too, like, going back to the pro staff stuff, it's like, where do you draw the line? I mean, there are some goofy deals out there, right? I dropped some of my stuff. I'm not trying to rep anybody that's not really doing anything for me, and
Right.
it's got to be something that makes sense for me. You know what I mean? Like the risk versus reward, like the risk being the energy and time consumption and everything else to produce whatever I need to on my end for them to uphold theirs. And if those two
Right.
aren't equal, it don't make sense. Now, don't get me wrong, you got to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
So I think well, I don't think I mentioned that, but we were talking about Elysian rods the other day, and I just had a conversation with somebody about them that was on their staff, and um, that was the first company that picked me up, and they were a new company. I talked with them a bit about their rods and things like that. And granted, I had never used one. I'll be the first person to admit I had never used one until I placed my first order and I was already on their team. But with that being said, I did a lot of research into what they were, and they're basically a custom rod. Bought them, got them, loved them. I fished them hard this year. I will not switch. Like, I got no reason to switch. I'm happy with them.
Right.
I did some work. They promote me, dude. Huge thanks to Jay Randall for some awesome photos he got of me this year. But they have been using the crap out of those 2 photos of me on the blue sky.
Yeah.
One's
That blue
netting
sky
a fish,
picture is
one's
epic.
netting a fish, and the other one is the fish jumping as I'm fighting it. And I'm using their rods.
Right.
So in return, but like, I know you and I had gotten into a discussion.
Yes, ladies
You
and gentlemen, we do have heated
know,
discussions.
yeah, it was, and that's just it, right? Like, you know, I think we both had valid points, and I saw where you were coming from, and I stated where I was coming from, and I don't want to go back down that wormhole, but
Yeah.
I mean, we can, but like, one of the things for me is last year, like, some of my stuff made sense because I was traveling and fishing and buying so much gear, so much stuff. Whereas like a 30 or 40% discount for me at the end of the year added up to like thousands of dollars, right?
Absolutely.
Whereas like a guy that's only fishing maybe 2 days a week or something like that, not traveling much, fishing tournaments, things like that, that discount might not make sense,
Yeah.
So that all goes back to, when I was talking about what I do has to equal what they're doing for me. So,
Absolutely.
I just got bumped up on Elysian this year for the work I did. And, it was what it was, some of it's as simple as just, sharing photos, um, or sharing their post and, trying to get some good epic shots for them to use. But that's been super beneficial to me, right? Because now anybody that's paying attention to the fishing world, I guarantee you, has seen my mug through their social media postings. So
Absolutely.
that opens up the door there, So this whole pro staff sponsorship game, it's
Slippery slope.
it is, and you got to be cautious. And you know what? I think it's good for people to like try a team out and make mistakes, right? And see
Right.
what it actually is. If that is something like you think you want to do, start on a low end team, do what you need to do, and either you're going to like it or you're going to hate it. I know guys that they got nothing because they don't want to deal with the extra stuff. They just want to go out and fish.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's great. All for it. I'm all for it, dude.
And going back to that discussion, one thing my boss loves about me at work, at my professional job, is that my willingness to eat crow and be like, okay, I could have done this differently. I could have said this differently. I'll eat crow. I'll own up to my mistakes. And during that conversation, we had a heated discussion that was amongst the group, and my apology was amongst the group. I didn't bitch up and just text you apology. Right. So you brought some things to light. You brought some viewpoints that I didn't see.
We both apologize to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Make that clear. So, and for you, I didn't understand that. And just the way you described it, somebody who is in this, may rep a brand for a 30% discount, but when you use that product every weekend of every month, 12 months a year, that adds up huge, right? That's a huge thing. Aaron Steiger, love the guy.
Yeah, good dude.
Former team manager, Jackson Kayak, recently resigned for a few reasons that are private. We'll leave that to him to discuss. But one reason that he wouldn't mind being shared publicly, and I know Aaron, so I know he wouldn't mind this, he wanted to be more, he wanted to have more time with his family.
Yeah,
bro, hats off to you. Man. He wanted to spend more time with his kids. He was tired of being too busy for his wife and his children. Mad props to that guy. He taught me a lot of ins and outs this year. And one said he specifically, I'll never forget this, specifically said, man, when you represent a brand, you need to make sure that what you are getting in return is equal or greater than what you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So if you're a weekend warrior and you're getting 30% off on a product, but all you have to do is make one or two social media posts that may equivalent like what, 6 minutes of your life, I think it's a pretty damn good deal.
Sure. Hell yeah.
I think it's a pretty good deal. So,
yeah, I mean, especially if it's something you use, you know what I mean? Whereas, like, I know there's folks out there, they got staffs, they don't even, like, use the stuff, you know what I mean? That's the old thing, right? Like, you would see, Bassmaster classic dude repping brand A, but every time he was on the water, he was throwing brand C. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's that, you know what I mean? So it's just like,
we call and those I'm not saying pro staff.
Well, and I'm not saying like because you rep brand A, you can't throw brand C, but if you don't use brand A at all, there's something wrong with that, bro. Why aren't you talking to brand C? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if dude, I love Z-Man. You've seen my collection of Z-Man plastics, and it's like that is something I use all the time. But if Z-Man came to me and they were like, all right, bro, well, we're going to take care of you, but you can never throw a Berkeley chigger craw again, I'd be like, bro, you're out of your mind. Like, no thanks. Unless you're paying me thousands of dollars, like, ain't happening.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'll use a turbo craw sometimes, but sometimes that chigger craw does a lot better. I don't know what it is. I mean, I use both. I believe in both.
Right.
But, whatever. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Steiger said it best on that podcast we had. And if you guys haven't heard this, go back and listen. It was on an OG episode. I think it was like middle of 2019, something like that.
Yeah, right around there.
But he was like, look, I used to have a list an arm length long of all the brands that I would sponsor. Now I rep 3 companies. It's the 3 companies I use the most. It's the 3 companies I believe in. And it's the 3 companies that make sense to me. He's like, I was on staffs with stuff where I'd hardly ever use this stuff. So what good am I doing for that brand? Why should I close up that position for somebody else that actually could use it, actually needs it, and, actually uses the product?
Absolutely.
And that was a big eye opener because you hear Aaron Steiger, like, I think that dude's kind of underrated in the kayak fishing world. I know he's
a sleeping giant.
Yeah, dude, he's not like a huge tournament angler. However, from the looks of it, next year he's going to be fishing some tournaments, but some of the stuff that guy's done and the way he presents himself, the way he reps himself, the way he represented the Jackson kayak fishing team, hands down, dude. Like, I don't know very many other people that I can say that dude's close to the caliber of Aaron Steiger. And I'm not trying to kiss Aaron's ass in any way. I've never met Aaron personally. I've only talked to him on the phone, talked to him on a Skype call. But, just the way he presents himself. If you spend an hour sitting down talking to that dude, the whole pro staff thing would make sense to you.
A lot of sense.
A lot.
And to kind of piggyback off what you just said about Aaron, so there's only 3 companies he's, that he would represent. Same thing
Now
for me this year.
2.
Now it's 2. But same thing with this for me this year. There's some companies that are getting fired. Consider this your notice. So I'm sticking with the podcast, right? It's something that I was a guest on, that I've dipped my toes in the water as a host part-time, and now I love it. I mean, obviously, if you guys look, if you knew, I've been telling Brian all week how much freaking money I just spent on equipment to make the podcast better. It's something I love, man. It's something that I've really grown to love. I didn't know that I loved it as much in the beginning, but now it's like, this is dope. This is some dope stuff. Of course, Jackson. And let's talk about that real quick, because everybody is up in arms, like, oh my God, EJ's gone and Damon's gone and Aaron's gone and this person left. And this, guys, calm down. Calm the hell down. It's going to be all right, man. Every company goes through these growing pains where they have to reorganize and they have to get back on track. Jackson's not going anywhere. They're not merging. They're not getting bought out. EJ stepped down because he was done. He was done. He said, I got guys to run the company. I'm done, man. I'm going to go back to being whitewater guy, fishing guy, crazy guy, 50-something years old, still better shape than I am. And, 10 years younger than him, right? Crazy man, and there's some stuff internally that they talk about that we're not going to share. But everything is getting ironed out. And I asked a lot, I ruffled a few feathers during the process, asking questions and making posts, like, guys, what the hell's going on, just to get answers. But everything's going to be fine, man. The company is okay. They're just going through some changes. That's all, man. The rebranding is huge. That's it, man. Now, that's not the official word. I'm not an official corporate member of Jackson, but this is just, you heard it from a team guy, man. Just pump the brakes, breathe a little bit. What's your opinion?
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like, so I think I was telling you last night when we were dialing in all this podcast and stuff. I talked to the Godfather yesterday, and since he's kind of stepped away from the podcast, he hasn't really kept up with the kayak game in general. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm like, so many changes going on right now in the industry. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I told you Jackson was getting rebranded. He's like, yeah, I think you told me about that. I'm like, Bonafide merged with Native. And he was like, what? And then I'm like, Pelican bought Wilderness Systems. I'm like, it's just
Pelican's the biggest player in the game right now, boys.
I go, EJ stepped down from Jackson. I'm like, there's just all kinds of moves going on. And he's like, what does that tell you? And I said, to be honest, I think the market's just flooded, right? And it doesn't make sense for some of these smaller kayak companies to be operating on their own, where they could be under a bigger umbrella to save costs in certain areas and, make things actually profitable. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know there was, I forget where I saw it. EJ did an interview where I think he talked about like the first 4 years they were in the red. You know what I mean? Jackson Kayaks as a whole. And, that's the thing. Like, just because you got this business and you're selling boats and stuff doesn't mean you're fucking making money hands over fist.
Right.
But it's interesting. There's a lot of moves going on in the industry. I think it'll be interesting to see where we're at this time next year. If more companies will merge, if new ones will rise. I think I just saw Kirko Paddles is now selling boats.
I didn't check that out.
I just saw that
I
this
didn't know that.
weekend.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to look that up.
But you know, you got the Lightning kayak that's kind of coming out now, that Robert Field kayak.
Robert Fields, yeah.
So I don't know, man. There's
He's a
just
cool
so many.
dude. Robert
Robert Field.
Fields, yeah, dude. If you listen to this podcast, hit us up. We'd like to have you on because you are an interesting dude.
Yeah. It's just interesting to see what's going on in the industry. And, you know, right now, like you're talking about the pro staff stuff and, you know, all this tournament crap going on. And I've just kind of decided this year, like, I really don't want anything to do with it.
No.
I'm just kind of like, yeah, you know, I see all the drama and the BS and all the hate, right? That's
man,
big.
it's ridiculous.
We talked about that with JD, dude, and on the OG show, and it's just like, what are you guys doing?
Man,
it's such a turnoff, and especially for those new folks come into it, like they see that and they're like, why the hell do I want to get involved with this shit? You know what I mean?
Well, so, when you have money and I guess what would be the correct word? Money and fame, money and stature?
I'd say money and ego.
Yeah, there you go. When you put those two together and when you start to become somebody in the kayak fishing world and
I'd say it's mostly ego.
I can't go down. Yeah, I can't go down that rabbit hole.
It's mostly ego, dude. Like there's a lot of egos getting in the way right now of potentially, you know, blowing this thing out and making it what it should be. Yeah. I think if some folks would put their egos aside and sit down as human beings and discuss some things and get past issues worked out and present issues and just sit down and just say, hey, let's actually do this. Let's make this work. What do you want from me? This is what I need from you. Come together, collaborate. Some of the biggest things in the world have been accomplished through collaborations.
Absolutely.
Why not carry it on?
Absolutely.
Hit that
whether
one.
You like it or not, because you're the biggest names in kayak fishing, you owe it to the sport. Yeah. Ooh, there you go. You owe it. You owe it to the sport. You got to where you are. You put yourself in that position. Spotlight's on you. You owe it to the sport. My opinion, you know, but
yeah, I mean, I think people react differently, right? You know, you talk to any, I've seen it just interests me when you see a young kid become a star or a podunk YouTuber from Northern Illinois become this YouTube sensation. You know, you talk to any, or you see interviews with those types of people, and they're always like, there was nothing that could have ever prepared me for what I'm dealing with right now. Yeah. With success and being in that public spotlight. And I think a lot of people don't handle that well.
And in their defense, that's a hard thing to handle. Because
it is,
I mean,
dude.
I struggled with that a little bit this year. I got a little attitude and a little ego this year too.
This is a thing too, right? So I'll be honest, and I'm being 100% honest. When we started the podcast, my biggest worry was being judged. And I think that's a huge issue in society today. Everything we do is dependent on being judged by our peers, by the public, things like that. And with a podcast like this, you're being put in the public spotlight, right? Whether you like it or not. Like, same thing with putting out a YouTube video, things like that. People are going to pick you apart because they have nothing better to do with their lives. Agree with that 100%. But I think for a long time I held back because I was so worried. And even to this day, like, you know, like how many conversations went on between yesterday and this morning about releasing the After Hours show. because I was so conscious of
Yeah.
us being judged or looked at differently because we said some swear words and had some dirty talk or whatever else, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that's a thing. There's a time and place for everything. Like I talked about, like, at the beginning of that, I talked about, you know, I asked everybody, do you do something different or do you act differently? And it wasn't like I was acting fake, but I talked about how I swear like a sailor. And then the podcast thing goes on and I turn it off like a light switch. And you and Randall are like,
I can't do it.
that mother just like rambled off 30 swear words in one sentence and then just goes to being, hello and welcome to the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm
He
Brian.
goes from being R to G.
Yeah.
In the flip of a
right,
switch, dude.
Right.
And I struggle. I struggle with it.
Well, we all do, but I mean, that's the thing, right? We're like so worried about how we're going to be perceived, how pro staff people are going to respond to our whatever. And, you know, it's just dumb. You know who a guy that I listened to that really helped me think about that and get over it? Gary Vaynerchuk. A lot of people don't like him. I love that dude. He's positive. He's motivating, successful business person, things like that. And he's like, at what point do you just say, fuck everybody else, I'm going to do me, right? And that's the thing. Like, I think if you go back and you listen to the first like 40 episodes I was on to now, you can see that transition.
Absolutely.
You know? And I still hold back, but like, I don't know, man. It's just like, I was thinking about it today. It's like, I hold back, but it's like, if I were to speak my mind, would it help change things? You know what I mean? Like, what if this is my opportunity to speak up and help change whatever I want to change or what I see difficult, or, you know, and here's my thing. I don't complain. I offer suggestions. I do instead of talk about doing, you know? So, but I usually got to think that out for a long period of time before I actually do it, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Look at what we talked about tonight. That's one of those tipping factors, right? We didn't want to be in a spotlight. We didn't want to bring negativity. And I don't, you know, it's just like, God dang, guys, maybe, but some things have to be talked about, and we have a platform to talk about it.
Yeah.
And almost, and I've said it before too, man, paddle and fins for the people. It's for the average Joe of kayak fishing. You know, we're not in a corporate company pocket. Do we have a few sponsors? Yeah. JigMasters. Yeah. Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
You know, he's got our back. So
I think we talked about it. Somebody left a comment about the podcast, and he said, you speak to us, not at us.
Chris Johnch.
Yeah.
I think
that's who it was. That was a pretty powerful statement to me, because that's always been a belief from day one. Like, we don't want to be this like advertising platform, so to speak, you know, where I'm not trying to offend KBF, but the Paddle and Fin DZ Real Tree podcast, you know what I mean? Like,
no.
You know, yeah, we run our little thing for JigMasters. We have our show supporters listed at the end, but it's not nonstop. Oh, you got to get this because it's the greatest thing in the world. You know, like an infomercial, dude. And I mean, you listen to Ike Live. I'm not trying to call Ike out, but, you know, he's got people paying for his stuff. That's why he does it. And I get that. But at what point do you draw that line? You know, I think you and I had a conversation like, you know, I'm not interested in pro staffs or sponsorships right now for a discount code.
No.
Unless you're giving me free stuff or writing me a check, I got no interest whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing too. And that includes the podcast, right? Like, you know, there's been a lot of conversation going on about that behind the scenes. Like, oh, should we talk to so-and-so? You know, and I'll be 100% honest. I don't know, but we're not going to sell ourselves short if we're not getting anything in return. And, it's got to be something that we all agree on and believe in. And I
Absolutely.
think the reference I used was if Banjo Minnow wanted to write us a $5,000 check tomorrow, I'd probably tell them to go pound sand. And you were like, come on, bro, $5,000,
Five G's,
turn that
baby.
down. And I was like, yeah, like that's, at what point do we sell our souls to the devil? How many
Absolutely.
how many zeros got to be on the end of that check? You know what I
Now,
mean?
now to clarify that, let's take that one step further and clarify. If Banjo Minnows came and said, hey man, I'm going to pay you guys 5 G's, baby, 5,000 greenbacks. All I want you to do is run an ad for us. I don't give a fuck what lure you
That I
use.
could do. That I could
Okay.
do. But if they're like, hey, we want you to mention our product every 5 minutes, like not happening, bro. But if you want to pay for ad space, yeah, absolutely, hit me up.
Yeah, there's a difference. But
Yeah.
if you got to put your Banjo Minnow hat on, your shirt, your face, and you got to say, I love the Banjo Minnow, and you got to be a little puppet and they're pulling the strings, and I don't even use a Banjo Minnow. I mean, sorry, I throw that fucking thing, but whatever.
Here's an interesting thing too, and I don't know if you and I had ever talked about this, but I was getting my 2020 jersey made for this year through Rocktown team, or Rocktown, and I reached out to Cody from JigMasters, and I was like, "Hey, bro, you mind if I put your logo on my jersey?" And he's like, "Well, you're not on my staff." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I just believe in your stuff, want to rep you, and this and that." And I could understand his concern, because he was like, "Well, I don't know how I feel about that. Let me think about that."
Yeah.
Okay, dude, totally get it, bro. Think about it all you want. Either
That
way,
dude.
I just like your jigs, and I just want to represent them. And if I could show off, your company through putting your logo on my jersey, like I'm all for it. Like a jersey's a billboard. Should people pay for those spots? Yeah, probably. But at the same time, you look at every logo on my jersey, it's a brand that I love and I use and I represent to the best of my abilities.
Absolutely. Take that dude, Cody. Man, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of different companies out there that should model after him because he doesn't buy into the bull crap. He doesn't. See, you got me cussing and now I can't stop. Remember the light switch? Light switch is broken, bro. So
this is your show.
yeah, man. We have to put a little language disclaimer at the beginning of this probably, but Cody does a smart, dude. He doesn't buy into the bull crap. He doesn't buy into, oh man, you're somebody in the fishing world. Oh great, I don't care, dude. It's my company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna advertise smart. I'm gonna make money.
I'm gonna work with the people I want to work with.
Absolutely.
And things like that. Yeah, totally.
And of course, he likes having our platform as an advertisement platform, right? And we pitch his stuff, but he loves having us because we love having him.
Yeah.
And his jigs, I swear, the other day I bought the Plano Edge box right after Brad bought it. I said, okay, cool, man. I need to organize my crap too. I bought that and I sent him a picture. I'm like, dude, these look perfect in there. And he goes, yeah, man. I see some non-JigMaster jigs in there. And I start cracking up. I'm like, hey, bro, I used a little bit of everything. And I was like, in my defense, this was pre-JigMasters, right? So we had a nice little fun conversation about it. He doesn't care. I love his jigs. I think I had like 3, but it was so funny, dude. Like he knows his product so well. You pick it out I have 50 jigs. He picked it right out. Like those are not JigMasters.
He sent me a text message tonight because when we had him on the podcast last, I had mentioned those Kayak jigs and how I'd love to see him kind of replicate it. And I was like, I'll mail you some. And he's like, mail me those jigs, damn it. LOL. And I was like, yeah, sorry, dude. I've been slacking. I'll get them out, But
that's funny. I saw the same thing, the same picture. That was pretty awesome, by the way.
Yeah. So he was razzing me up about that, but he's the type of guy too, like we talked about in the after hours show, where if you come to him with an idea or you find something that you don't like about the bait, he'll actually think about it and talk to you about it and why something's got to be some other way, or maybe what he can do to change that bait to make it that much better. You know what I mean? He's always looking for good feedback. And I think that says something about a company, you know. That's the thing too, like going back to the pro staff thing, like if your company is looking on their staff for R&D, research and development, that's a team I'd like to be a part of.
Absolutely.
You know, a company that's going to listen to their anglers that are using their product instead of just pumping out the same old boring crap. Like, as a company, how do you plan to get better? Right?
Right.
Everybody's moving up one notch at a time every single day, you know, whether you see it in the public or not. And if you're not continually trying to better your product, your service, everything that goes into a business, you're going to fail. And if you got some makeshift pro staff that's just getting a 10% discount, what good are they going to be to you? Right? Like, they're just there for the deal. They got 800 people on their staff. Like, is that the business model you want? Like, yeah, that could be guaranteed sales, but at the same time, is that the way you want your brand presented? Or do you want an elite group of guys and gals that really do diligence for your brand, that helps you grow, helps you gain more business and more sales and whatever else, you know?
Absolutely. I don't think Jackson will mind me saying this. I mean, there is some team restructuring going on that we've heard of. I don't want to say it's going on. We've heard rumors that there's going to be some team restructuring for the better. They're going to restructure how some of the stuff's done, which is good. And but one thing that stuck out to me is they said we are going to listen to our teammates more when it comes to R&D. And I was just like,
yeah,
thank you. Ding, ding, ding. Thank you. And I thought that was awesome. You know, I'm like, okay.
I saw that too. And I think that's key, dude. Yeah. I mean, if you want to really find out what your product is all about, give it to somebody that uses the crap out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, in the fishing world, you know, you give, let's say Kevin Van Dam, you know, all these different plastics. Is he going to really use those and come back to you and say whatever? Whereas you look at the Guggen squad, right? Those guys are using their stuff. They put a lot of R&D into their stuff. Yes, they are being accused of ripping off other brands.
Big time. 6 cents.
Yeah.
Hashtag 6 cents.
But, you know, I don't know the whole deal behind that scandal. I just kind of stay clear of it. But, like, you know, when they came out with their plastics and stuff like that, it was something that they were using. They dialed in before they released it to the public. You know, like the Bandito bug, you know.
Love it.
Oh,
Trench hog.
Yeah.
Trench hog. Love that damn thing too. They got some good baits, man. I mean, everybody hates on them, but they got some good baits. That Bandito bug, it's a good one.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. So, I don't know, man. It's interesting. I guess my suggestion for anybody like looking to get in that pro staff game, proceed with caution. Try one out if you've never done it. See if it's for you.
Right.
You may decide this is all hogwash. What the hell am I doing? You may say, hey, this might work. Like, you know, going back to Elysian, I knew they were a young company and I could grow with them. And I saw that as opportunity. So that's why I jumped on it. And, you know, this year I got bumped up and, you know, it is what it is. You know, the more you put into it, the more you should get out of it. And
absolutely.
The more you probably will get out of it. You know, companies recognize that those guys and gals that are doing work and, you know, they try to reward you for it. And if not, speak up. And if nothing changes, get the hell out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All I could say.
When you get into it, make sure you're having fun and it's worth your time.
Right.
Prioritize the things in your life. Don't let it overconsume you. You know, 3 companies I represent. emphasis on fun.
Yeah.
Don't get dialed into the bull crap, and don't pay attention to what the other people say. The pro staff haters. Oh, you're a pro staff. Blah 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 blah. I can fish better than you. I'm better. Blah, 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 blah. But shut up. Just tell them to shut up, man.
Yeah.
Just like you don't need that bull crap. Most of them are just jealous because they couldn't get in with the brand anyway. Yeah, I said it, and yes, it's true.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Like, I know some guys that they just pimp the crap out of brands and they got no deals with them, and it's because they love their stuff. But 9 times out of 10, those companies catch on to that and they see what they're doing, and they end up getting reached out to and offered stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for instance, I had a dude that I reached out to for the Rocktown team. Because I actually ran into the dude once up on a lake with the Godfather fishing. And he came over because I had my trolling motor set up on my 127. He was fishing out of a 107 Bonafide. And he was like, oh, dude, that's dope. We talked for a bit. And he's like, hey, what's your Instagram? I'll follow you. And I was like, Paddle and Fin. He's like, oh, bro, I already follow you. And I was like, well, what's yours? I'll follow you, And I had already been following him, and I'm like, dude, you take some pretty badass shots, So we talked about that, and I ended up months later reaching out to that dude just because he, there's a thing, and that's a whole nother loophole, like social media posts and photos and getting good photos and things like that. But he just always getting great shots, whether it was a big fish or just like a sunset with like the boat in it and things like that. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, like I see what you do. Social media is a big thing with these staff things. And, if you're interested, I'd love to put you on the Rocktown team, as our bonafide guy. And he's like, well, I never really thought about that. Didn't know it was a thing. I appreciate you reaching out. Let me think about it. And he ended up declining. He's like, I got burned on some pro staff stuffs, fishing out of big boats, found this kayak, been fishing this, been loving doing my own thing. I'm like, hey, bro, good for you. I respect that 100% because you're honest and upfront. He's like, I just can't say that I could commit to it 100% and have my heart in it 100%. So I don't want to tie up a spot that could be there for somebody that's actually going to give you 100%. That answer right there was the best thing I had ever heard.
Absolutely.
And I told that dude straight up, I said, look, man, if it ever comes to a time where you want this, the offer's on the table from now until the end of eternity, dude. I said, the fact that you were respectful and you gave me an honest answer and told me why, and things like that, like, I respect you 150%, bro. This door is always open. If you ever need anything, just call me. And he's like, thanks, man. I appreciate that. So that's the thing too, man. Like, you gotta make sure it's a commitment you want to uphold. Don't jump on a staff and then don't do anything and then expect to get stuff in return.
Absolutely.
You see that a lot too,
Yeah, they get that discount and they fade to black after first few orders that they get that percentage applied to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that goes from large companies all the way down to the shops like we talked about earlier. So just pace yourself, get in with the brands that you use, represent them, uphold your word, because when you're establishing that relationship, you're like, okay, you give me, we established the relationship. This is what I'm going to do. And this is what you're going to give me. And once you establish that agreement, honor it.
Yeah.
Because then all you're doing, if you don't honor it and you're ripping them off, you're going to make it harder for the guy who really wants to honor it.
Right.
So it's just like, come on, man, where's your integrity? So do what you're supposed to do. Make sure it's worth your while. Make sure it's worth the company's while. Get your priorities straight. Don't neglect, if you have family, if you have wife, girlfriend, family, kids, don't neglect them. That's my fault. As a man, as a father, as a husband, I did that last year, and I didn't realize it until this year. I'm eating crow on that one. 100. Bet your ass next year, my family is going to be included in everything I do outdoors. Well, not everything. They may not want to sometimes. Let's be realistic. And if you're one of those guys who have family, wife, kids, escaping every once in a while, don't beat yourself up about that, dude, because who doesn't want to just get out and get away for a few? I'm talking about when it's like excessive, you know.
Yeah.
I was more focused and concentrated on me last year and my getting myself promoted, getting myself out there, that I neglected to do what the hell got me there in the first place, you know? So that's it, man. I guess, I mean, we've kind of beat that horse already, but tonight was just an eye-opening thing. What we saw was eye-opening for me.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
Cool, man.
Is that a Cincinnati Red shirt you got on?
It is, bro. You know, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
What the hell is your problem? What have the Reds done in forever?
Bro, it's between the Reds or the Bengals. Give me a break.
Yeah. You're screwed either way.
It doesn't matter. That's why I fish so much. I don't even.
It's just as bad as having the Chicago Bears here, you know. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you're never gonna win with those guys. You know. I get it.
Yeah. So speaking of Cincinnati, man, we have Loveland Canoe and Kayak going to be at the Cincinnati Travel Sports and Boat Show. We're going to start that this week, 17th, 18th, and 19th. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if I got those dates right. Let me double check that real quick here. Bam, I got it. 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Well, and this will air on the 19th, the morning of the 19th.
What's that?
This is going to air the morning of the 19th.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm not used to doing my own episode yet. I'm getting my days messed up.
So go visit him. Get in the car right now. Go to Cincinnati.
And say hi to your boy. So Brian's right. So on the 19th, if you show up on the 19th, Duke Energy Convention Center, downtown Cincinnati, we'll be located right across from the demo pool. We're going to have a Blue Sky. We're going to have Crescent Kayaks there, Jackson Kayaks there, and Bonafide Kayaks. Chad Hoover himself will be hanging with us at the booth when he's not doing his seminars. He's got 2 seminars that day. And then also the show is the following weekend as well. So it's going to be the 24th, 25th, and 26th. So you can come down then too. Now, Chad won't be there during those dates. He's only going to be there the 18th and 19th. So.
Yeah, the 23rd through the 26th, I'll be at the Chicago Fishing Show. Jay will be there that Saturday and Sunday. I might be going down to Cincinnati next weekend.
It's going to be fun. Come down and say hi to us, man.
Yeah, I was thinking I could shoot down there Saturday evening and be at the show Sunday and then come home Sunday night.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be a blast.
Yeah.
Bring your mic. We could do a podcast. I can bring the equipment there, and we could do an in-show podcast right there.
I like the way you think.
Bring the equipment. It's all portable, man. It's all portable. That'd be badass.
Yeah, it'll be fun, dude. I always travel with the camera for the show, so that'll definitely be there, and it should be a good time. So what do you got coming up on your next installment of the Mixed Bag?
The Mixed Bag. We're going to do a local angler spotlight. Jordan Gibson, chatted with him, man. He's a pretty interesting dude.
Yeah.
So quick story about him, right? He's a local guy here, lives in Indiana, but he travels. He works for the railroad, travels back and forth from Indiana to Ohio. We actually got hooked up into the Jackson Kayak fishing group. It's like a fishing group. He asked if anybody had a J crate for sale, an extra one. And I was like, cool, I got one. I met up with him at over in Eastgate at City Barbecue, and he knew me from the podcast.
Yeah.
I never met the dude. And I was like, he's, hey, man, I really like the podcast. I'm like, well, what? You know what I mean? I'm like, you know me from the podcast, bro? And that's happened a few times since then, you know, working some small shows and stuff. Like, hey, man, love the podcast. That's something I still can't get used to. It's humbling, and it just catches me off guard every time.
When it gets weird is when you're walking a bank, checking out a fishing hole, and a guy walks past you with a rod in his hand. He's like, hey, man, you're that, like, paddle and fin dude, right? That's when it's like, what the hell just happened? you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. Jordan Gibson, I believe I met him down at the Turkey Bowl this year.
He's a good dude.
Really good dude. I've talked to
Yeah.
him on Facebook a couple times, and yeah, he's a super cool cat.
Yeah, we're going to talk about everything, man. It's not just fishing related. We're going to talk about everything. And then I got another dude lined up, Denny Ransom, and
Okay.
we're going to talk some catfishing. So
Catfishing.
We have
some people online.
Yeah, man, I have been like, hey, we're gonna talk about catfishing. It's a love that I have. So, and then anything and everything from there on out on this segment, the gloves are off. The gloves are off. We're gonna.
It's cool, man. It's cool to see you come fruition, or full circle, kind of. From the time you were a guest and now, and seeing your enthusiasm for starting up this segment and everything else. So it'll be cool, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of Ricketts Crickets.
Ricky Ricardo.
Ricky Ricardo. But
Ricky Ricardo.
It'll be cool, man. It'll be fun. I think you'll enjoy it. And it's just another notch in our belt, dude. 6 days a week. It's freaking crazy. But
it's crazy.
So
we're doing it all for them, all for our fans, man. We appreciate you guys. I love you guys, man.
So I mentioned on the first episode we were gonna do some more giveaways. So why don't we do this? Your first segment. Let's give away 3 rod sleeves and a paddle and fin hat.
Love it.
What's go to our Facebook page, comment. What's the comment got to be? First person to comment on the post.
First comment? What do they got to say?
Yeah, what do they got to say? First comment on the post that goes up about this episode. It'll be on
hashtag Ricky Ricardo.
Hashtag Ricky Ricardo. There you go. If you go hashtag Ricky Ricardo on the episode post, that'll be out the day this airs, which is what, the 19th? Yeah, the 19th. We'll drop you a DM and get you a couple rod sleeves and a paddle and fin hat. Boom.
Yeah, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, and that's giveaway number 2 for this week, because I believe there was a giveaway on bass fishing for noobs, because I was on that segment again. So
you need a vacation already.
Dude, well, like I told you guys, man, on episode 1 of the new season, like I sat around for 2 weeks feeling like I was worthless because I had nothing to do, It's like, and I'm not saying I live a boring life, but it's like you just get in this rhythm of getting podcasts uploaded, videos to YouTube uploaded, and all that stuff, editing them all, things like that, and then you don't have to do it for 2 weeks. You're like, man, I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Absolutely.
Do something, so it's kind of funny, man, but I got a system dialed in.
Speaking of YouTube, you guys get ready. We're going to do a day in the life videos, man. We're going to be pumping out the YouTube videos, doing some high quality 4K drone footage videos. That's going to be pretty awesome. So
yeah, it'll be fun, man. I did that one with Josh Labor Day. And we had a lot of fun filming and shooting and hanging out and catching fish. And there was highs and there was lows because Josh likes to set a hook like he's freaking swinging a baseball bat at something.
He's a good dude, though, man. I love Josh.
I love that kid, man. I love that kid. But, yeah, man. Congrats on the new episode. Cheers in my coffee and my beautiful Rocktown mug here.
Some Simple Truth water with electrolytes, bro.
I'm pointing my mug at the camera on the laptop, and I forgot I got the DSLR going. So
damn, check out that autofocus. You see that snap into focus?
Mm-hmm.
Rocktown. What a cool shop Rocktown is, man. If you guys are into outdoors in general, you definitely got to check them out. They're awesome.
We got to get your butt out here to check out the shop and do some fishing this summer, dude. So
Yeah, bro. I get an extra week of vacation this year, man. So I'm at like 5 weeks, bro. I'm going to go head out there for a few days.
Phew. Might as well stay a week.
I know, right? I ain't coming home.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have Jay's dimples to snuggle up with.
He gets on a podcast, says, "Don't neglect your kids," and says he's never coming home.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. No, it'll be fun, man. It'll be a fun year. I'm excited. We got a lot of things in the works, and it'll be cool to see where it all goes, man. And what better way to kick it off with another segment? So, what's your outro line gonna be?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I didn't think about that at all.
Oh man, everybody steals mine. Tight line, smooth paddle.
We'll have to think of a good one. Drop a comment if you guys listen to this. Go to our Facebook page when we make this live. Drop a comment what you think the outro should be.
We'll step that up. Whoever comes up with the best outro line for Ricketts, we'll toss you a paddle and fin hat. So we got 2 giveaways on this episode.
2 giveaways. There we go.
Yeah. Let's see the creativity. I like it. And throw some funny ones in there too. I mean, I think we got the after hours post today. My man Jacob Ruff up in Wisconsin.
Funny dude.
Some funny stuff to say about you.
That was cracking me up, man.
Didn't even kiss me on the mouth.
Even JD made a comment too, man. He made a comment on my personal Facebook page. I was cracking up, man.
That's great.
That mountain bike story really went viral. Everybody seems to enjoy that.
Oh man, it's all fun and games.
But absolutely.
Yeah, man. It'll be cool. It'll be cool. I dig it.
Yes, sir. I guess that wraps it up tonight, man. We'll get another episode recorded this week and get another one up for you guys. We're looking at every other right now with the OG show every week as usual.
Yeah.
And these episodes gain traction.
Yeah.
Maybe every week.
Nice. We'll have to move after hours to Saturday.
Yeah. That's a good night to get some bourbon, whiskey, talk a lot of smack.
There was some folks that really clung on to that today. They kind of liked it. I know there was a comment on the YouTube video. Funny stuff, keep it up or something like that. Was on the YouTube video. And then, there were some comments on the Facebook, stuff like that. So it's cool, man. It's, like I said, it's different. I put a disclaimer on it. We were a little wishy-washy on it. Should we do this? But it's only going to get better, and it's a good way for you guys all to see us when we're not being serious and talking on the mic and things like that.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. We're like a bunch of brothers and sisters, Well, we got a sister, Susie, and we all joke around. And, it was funny. I'm like, before we started, I think it was, I'm like, I think it was Sam was like, oh no, Susie's going to be on the call. We got to keep her clean. I'm like, Susie's like one of the dudes,
She's amazing.
I'm like, you don't have to hold back, and I think she had a good time. There was a lot of laughs in there, man. A lot of laughs. And it was good. It was good. So I'm excited to see that come to fruition as well. See you flourish in this segment here, and see where it takes us, man.
My camera was not. I know I didn't have my camera for that podcast. I was just on audio, so I recorded that whole podcast in my boxers. So there's an image for you.
Oh, that's too funny. Podcasts, you can get away with that. Live streams, maybe not.
You just need a shirt.
You just got to make sure you go to the bathroom before you start recording, so you don't have to run out of the room to go take a leak.
Milford.
We'll let him explain that one.
Absolutely.
But Right on, brother. Well, congrats on episode 1 of the mixed bag.
The mixed bag. It's in the books.
Bagging them up, mixing them up.
We're gonna have to find something catchy. It's gonna have to be good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'll come up with something like tomorrow morning when I'm half asleep. We'll get it.
Yeah, sounds good. Appreciate you jumping on here, man. Rapping with me. It's late. It's about going on 1 a.m. Eastern right now. Quarter till.
Oh yeah.
Gotta get up early and go work for
here.
the man.
Yeah, buddy. Awesome, brother. Well, congrats again, and we'll talk soon.
Tight lines, smooth paddling. How was that?
That was good.
My man.
Go check out the website, guys. Paddle, the letter N and fin.com. Also check out YouTube, youtube.com/paddle and fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest, feel free to email us at paddle, the letter N and fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're doing giveaways, announcements, things like that at Facebook and Instagram at Paddle and Fin. Shout out to our show supporters, Rocktown Adventures, Loveland Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Fish Mob Lures, TRC Covers, Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com. You can put the Paddle and Fin logo right on your catch board. Don't forget to go over and pick up your JigMasters Jigs. Use promo code PNF20 and save 20% today. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps grow the audience, helps others find our podcast. So please drop a 5-star rating in on the podcast platform you're listening on. Don't forget about the recycled plastics program, you guys. Take your used plastic baits, put them in an envelope, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down, makes new baits, and donates them to various chapters of Heroes on the Water.